All right, so let's say you're getting ready to take the plunge. Get your first Airbnb. Congratulations. Smart move. But where do you do it? What are you thinking about before deciding location of your first Airbnb? I got 5 things I want you to keep in mind before making the jump to your first Airbnb. This is Steve, Malone Realty Group, EXP in Atlanta. All right, part 3 of our series, ongoing series, dealing with short-term rentals, Airbnbs, all that good stuff. So I want to talk about how to think about where, because whether you're thinking location, whether you're thinking about should it be close to the house but not too far from the house, should you be thinking more from a financial standpoint, all those different things. Where and what are we looking for in our first Airbnb? Number one. Number two, the thing I want you to keep in mind about this video, this is your first Airbnb. Your first Airbnb, this is the building block, okay? This is the one that if it goes, you go, okay? It's going to help kick off the whole machine for you to build your empire going forward, build your portfolio going forward, because that's what I want us to all think about. We're going to build our portfolios going forward, okay? So we don't just want one, like potato chips. We want lots of them. Love potato chips. So we want to think about that, especially if they're going to pay for themselves by having renters in there. I want you to be smart about where we're going to locate it. So here are the 5 things I want you to think about before you grab your first Airbnb. All right, so number 1, what makes the most sense to think about? Money or location, okay? Talk about like we did last time. We initially thought to ourselves, we're going to buy a spot down in Destin. Love Destin, like our favorite vacation getaway. Not just us. I think it's just about everybody in Atlanta. It seems like that's like Atlanta's playground is Destin. But that being said, we want to get a place in Destin. The more we looked at it, though, financially, it didn't make sense. We wanted a piece of Destin. We wanted something there. We wanted to be a part of the action. Love that area. My heart's there. Wife's heart's there. Like, we love that area. But financially, it didn't make sense. Because where we were looking, you had higher HOAs, you had hurricane insurance, you had all these other things where if you bought something for, let's say, just give you a throw out a number. You bought something for $300,000 in Destin versus if you buy something for $300,000 in North Georgia, you're buying the same amount of house. It's going to cost the same amount to run it, but in Destin, you've got higher insurance, you've got HOAs that you have to worry about. There's all kinds of different things that you got to keep in mind in Destin versus up in North Georgia, which is how we looked at it. That's why our first one we grabbed, even though our heart's in Destin, we realized that we're purchasing an asset. Okay, it's not a liability, it's an asset. Again, thinking like Robert Kiyosaki, as he talks about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, assets versus liabilities. Assets pay you. So if this pays enough, it pays for us to be able to go to Destin. We can go wherever we want in Destin based on the money that this is generating, okay, by itself. Okay, so think about money first before you think about location, because this one is going to be the one that kicks you off and gets the ball rolling and gets you going forward, okay? So, yes, maybe the spots in Destin go up a little bit more in value over time, but in the early going, as far as cash flow and everything to help you get to the next one, whatever, I really think, in my heart, if I had to do it all over again, I would do exactly what we did. We grabbed a spot in North Georgia. It made more financial sense. So, as you go forward, looking at your first one, do you want to be somewhere, specifically in a location, I got to be there, or do you want to be somewhere where it makes financial sense? It gives you freedom to do other things. Know what you want to do. I'm not saying one way is right or the other. I told you which one I'm leaning, but just know that's the way that you're leaning. I will lean more towards making it financially smart. Then you have the ability to make those other decisions further down the road. So that's number 1. Know if you're picking a spot because of location or because of the money. All right, thing number 2 I want you to think about. What area do you know? We picked North Georgia. I've lived here in North Georgia for about 30, 35 years. My wife's lived here even longer than that. We know the area. As we talked about in previous videos, we actually live in Northeast Georgia. We were actually initially looking at the Helen area, but we got pushed more towards the north to northwest Georgia area. We're up near Ellijay, Jasper, and the Talking Rock areas where our Airbnb is. Don't know that area quite as well, but still, it's North Georgia. We know the area. We're close to the area. We know all like the waterfalls and everything and trails and lakes and everything that's near. So we've been to those spots. We know the area, okay? Now, if we're going to buy a beach spot, like I talked about, I want to be in Destin. We know Destin, okay? I know we've been there over the last 15 years or so. We seem to go there at least once or twice a year. We know that area. We know all the streets. We know all the restaurants. We know all the hot spots. We know Destin. Okay, if I was thinking about going to Orange Beach in Alabama, or even go over to Panama City Beach, which is markedly different over the last 10 to 20 years than it was 10 to 20 years ago, I don't know those areas. I know Destin. Don't be afraid to say, this is the area I know. That's where I want to be. Perfect example. If you watch any Airbnb videos from any of the big boys, one of my favorites is Rob Belt. Shouts out to Rob Belt. If you watch any of those videos, one of the hot spots they always are in is Joshua Tree, California. They got these really cool spots out there. Beautiful, look great. Now, if I had to pick out Joshua Tree on a map, I wouldn't know where it is. It's in California. I'll be 100% honest. I don't know if it's in South California, Northern California, middle part of the state. I don't know. My guess is somewhere in Southern California, just north of Los Angeles. That's my guess. Maybe I'm right. We'll see. Anyway, if I had a cool editor, I would put a map of California right here. Bing! Let's see if my editor can do that. All right, so that being said, Joshua Tree, beautiful area, beautiful houses out there. That would be really cool to have an Airbnb out there, and I'm pretty sure it would do really well. I don't know that area. I wouldn't know the first thing about Joshua Tree. Now, the only thing I know about Joshua Tree is you two. That's it. That's all I know about Joshua Tree. So maybe 4 people will get that in the country, but thank you. Stick to where you know, okay? Then as you build, like I said, this is your first one. Your first one has to be a home run to make everything else rock and roll going forward. So know your first ones. First one, I would say stay in a spot and buy in a spot that you know. All right, item number 3 I want you to think about when deciding where we're going to purchase our Airbnb, margin, okay? If you're going down to Destin, you're more than likely to get something that makes money, you're going to be in an HOA. You're going to be in a condo. You're going to be paying monthly towards that. Destin has higher home insurance, like hurricane insurance type stuff. You're going to be paying more for that. North Georgia, you don't have to worry about either one of those things. Now, there's other things you have to worry about in each area. Each area has its own different things or whatever, but keep those things in mind. Also, when you're looking on, and again, I talk about this all the time, airdna.co, great website. That's a website to go to where you can go into locations, look at rental histories from the past. You probably have to pay to get the premium service, but you'll get an idea of what's going on in certain areas. You'll know, if you're buying a $300,000 place in Destin, $300,000 place in North Georgia, look at them both and say which area is going to make the most in gross money, and then do your spreadsheets and do your homework. Get in there and look at the numbers. I hate to say it gets ugly having to do numbers like that. See, I kind of like that, so I'm okay with it. But you've got to figure out where's the best margin. You don't want to buy a place that is going to cost you, let's just say argument's sake, you want to buy a place that's going to cost you $5,000 a month to run it, and you're going to make about $5,500 a month in rent. Yeah, that's $500 a month in extra money you make. Congratulations. That $500 is going to disappear in a hurry. All you have to do is buy a couple extra sets of sheets, a comforter. You have to go fix a hot tub, and then you got to go fix something else, and there's your $500, like that. Okay, so what I want you to do is you have a place that costs $5,000. You gotta bring in about $8,000 a month to give you a little bit of cash flow and give you a little bit of margin in case things go wrong. Because there's no in case things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go wrong. These are houses. Okay, if you've owned a house for 2 minutes, you know that the houses are in a constant state of falling apart. Okay, condos are the same way. So keep that in mind. You want to think margin. Okay. Because margin is going to be what gives you extra dough. For us, any extra money we make is going right towards the principal of the mortgage. We're going to pay this bad boy down as fast as we can so we can actually start to leverage it going forward. Okay, so you want as much margin as humanly possible. Keep that in mind as you're looking. So that's number 3. Think margin. Where does it make the most sense? All right. Number 4. Where will it actually rent? Okay, let's say you go and you like visiting Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. Beautiful area. You like to go to the aquarium, go to the Civil Rights Museum down there, World of Coke, you're in for a football game, all that stuff. I mean, Atlanta's got a lot of stuff to do just right there, and then there's the zoo's right there. There's all this stuff to do all over Atlanta. Great place. Okay, so let's say you think to yourself that'd be an awesome place to have an Airbnb. Let's go snag it like a 2-bedroom place down in downtown Atlanta, and we'll turn it into an Airbnb. Atlanta has basically made it a lot harder to own an Airbnb inside of Atlanta. Okay, local laws are going to have a big impact on where it makes sense to have a place. So you want to know that. One thing about where it's going to rent, don't think to yourself, I think this would be a great place. Go on, again, airdna.co. Go on there and look and see, is there a history in that area of rentals? Okay. For example, we were looking in Helen. If you're looking in downtown Helen, renting a spot in downtown Helen, you're going to make bank. Okay. If you were just outside Helen, it is very, 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 very hit or miss. Okay. It just depends on what the place looks like, how far it is from Helen, things like that. But if you're over where we are and you're Talking Rock is near LJ, it's near Jasper, it's near Blue Ridge, it's near Ball Ground, it's near Amicalola Falls, it's near Cars Lake, it's near all these different things, okay? And there's all these Airbnbs are interspersed all over the place, okay? But they're all doing good, as long as they look the part. There's some that looking a little rough, they're not doing as good. That's part of it. You got to have it look the part. But as far as location-wise and where will it rent, go on airdna.co and do your homework. Look at an area where it's actually rented before. All right. For your first one, don't be the trailblazer. Don't say to yourself, "Oh, we're going to start it here, even though nobody's rented here. We're going to make this happen." You don't know Airbnb. You don't know the algorithms. You don't know any of that. I didn't. Go somewhere where it works. Work it there for your first one. Then things change. Okay. But for your first one, where do you want to rent? Rent somewhere where people rent. Okay. And don't guess. There are tools online to look for it. So where to rent, you rent where the people rent. Kind of makes sense, right? All right. Thing number 5 I want you to remember, micro neighborhoods. What are we talking about? Let's say you decide that you want to go to Destin, right? And there's a spot in Destin that we always like to stay. It's called Destin West. It's awesome. They've got condos there. They've got like 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedrooms. They've got stuff that's on the bay side, stuff that's on the beach side, whatever. And then there are spots right next door to it that things don't, rent for quite as high, but they don't have as much stuff there as with it. You have to know, when looking at different areas, why does it rent for this here, but rent for that there? Same thing like in North Georgia, in LJ. If you're in LJ, something between LJ and let's say Blue Ridge, should rent for X amount of money. But if it's near downtown LJ, it'll rent for probably a little bit more, I would think. Or if it's just off, maybe a mile outside of downtown. But if it's like in the middle of nowhere, it's not going to, you need to know the micros. Okay, so to say, let's look in LJ. Keep in mind, you could be downtown, you could be along the river there, you could be along the highway, you could be just out all by yourself on 3 acres. There are different micro spots. Know the micro areas, okay? Each area, and again, that goes back to what we talked about earlier about how, it's best to move to a spot or get a spot, I should say, that that you're familiar with, okay? Like I said, I don't know where the cool spots are in Joshua Tree. So I'm not going to get a spot there. Maybe one day I'm going to get a nice little spot out there. But right now, I am not, okay? So keep that in mind. There are micro neighbors. You really got to go in there and really do your due diligence, okay, and really get it. The reality is you're going to do so much looking online, you may only look at 1 or 2 spots in person. That's what we did. Second spot we saw, we found, we liked it, we grabbed it. Because before we went there, we looked at it online, we looked at it on airdna.co, we did history look at it, we looked at the area, we looked it up. We did so much homework on that place, it was silly. So by the time we went and looked at it, as long as the place was standing, we were going to buy it, right? We walked in there, knocked our socks off, we're like, let's do it, this is it. So just know that there are micro areas you want to dig. The bigger home run you hit on your first one is going to set you up for the later one. So do your homework, know about the micro areas and within the area, know about all the neighborhoods and stuff like that. So that's number 5, really know the areas. All right, so there you go. Those are 5 things that I want you to keep in mind when we are thinking about grabbing your first short-term rental. Those are the things that we were thinking about. We had to change our mindset, kind of shift what we were thinking about in the beginning about like what we were looking for. But we really feel like for the first one, we hit a home run with our first one. It was a place that it was fully furnished. It was already a rock and roll Airbnb. We like to think about it. We basically bought the business, and we've been rolling since. We closed on a Tuesday. Our first people were in there on a Tuesday evening. Went pretty good. And it's been pretty booked ever since. So keep that in mind. Those are the 5 things that I would think about buying my first one. Now, I'm not going to talk about what you should think about when buying your 10th one. I've only bought one. But as we go, I want to document this as we go and kind of unload my brain onto yours, what we're thinking. If you have questions, because I love this stuff. This is really cool. The cool thing, and I'm going to leave you with this about, and I think about this all the time. People talking about like cash on cash investment, think about, are stocks best because stocks go up 10% a year, real estate goes up this percent, Bitcoin goes up this percent. This is a place that the renters cover all the mortgage, all the expenses and everything, and then there's margin, okay, that we pour back into it. So for us, there's no money that we invest into it, like out of our pockets, God willing, okay? There might be something happen, but that's the design. It's how it's gone so far. We're not putting our own personal money into it. We're letting the money that comes in fund it. If you have something that you don't have to take out of your pocket to put into and it just kind of funds itself, how many of those can you have? As many as you want. So percentage of how much things go up doesn't matter to me. I can have as many of them as I want. If I need to have 10 of them to make whatever, I'll just grab 10 of them because I don't have to put any money in. So keep that in mind. Think like that, okay? We want to think if it can pay for itself, let's have a bunch of them. Steve, Malone Realty Group, EXP. Talk to you later. Bye.